Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants, and then of course to the panelists that have taken the time to prepare and share some experience today. We are about to talk about private sector networks for DRR and how to build SME resilience. So I have very experienced speakers from different areas to talk about this very relevant topic as part of this European Forum for Disaster Risk Reduction. That is what we have in common. We would like to change the world at least a little bit in reducing risk in coming out of disasters. Now we have a lot of experience at this virtual table that we're having right now. So we will have two rounds, two different sessions, so to speak, within one. So you got 2 for 1. I think that's the motto of a Black Friday today. So that means we will talk about private sector networks for DRR and the experience that the participants have. And then once we have gone through that, we will talk about building the resilience of small and medium-sized enterprises. That has been a topic already since quite a while, but I think it is getting more and more traction, especially after more information about small and medium-sized enterprises is available, one. And second, that due to the COVID crisis, we have gained as well experienced about the potential to survive from SMEs on one end, and on the other side, of course, they are the most affected, as usually their financial background is not as good. Now, for the first round, private sector networks for DRR, we have 3 distinguished guests with Fernando Perez de Brito from AI Systems Research. Fernando is the founder and CEO of AI Systems Research, which is a technology and consulting company specialized in analytics, decision support, and artificial intelligence solutions. And he is the co-founder of Hub 4 Ventures that is dedicated to lever entrepreneurship. He's responsible for social responsibility, working as well on the initiative Making Smart Cities, very interesting aspect, by the way. And he as well served as an Arise Global Board member since 2017. In addition to that, we have Mr. Pedro Gaivao. I hope that I'm pronouncing that well, Pedro. I try my very best. Pedro is currently the head of operations risk at EDP. He has experience in banking and energy and in the areas of information technology, generation, and supply, with responsibilities in corporate strategy, change management, planning and implementation, IT projects, and more. Sweet. Against the agenda that you probably have seen announcing this panel, Mrs. Maria Luisa Alberto from Energias de Portugal will not be able to make it today. However, Pedro will be helping out with all the questions that might arise related to Maria Luisa. And then we have Mr. Evan Edogan, who is the International Development Management's Deputy General Manager for 3 years now. In the meantime, with a lot of experience sitting in Turkey, experience in programs, NGO think tanks building. He has an MA and BA degrees in international relations, political science, and he's a senior expert project manager related to government relations, regulatory affairs, robust experience in a number of projects. And I'm looking forward to talk to you right now. My name, by the way, is Hans-Peter Teufers. I'm with the UPS Foundation since a number of years, have worked many years in operations, in a number of different staff functions within UPS. And since 6 years, I'm the international director within the UPS Foundation, dealing with projects and with humanitarian supply chains. The UPS Foundation has worked a lot, especially around COVID, with supporting healthcare system strengthening around the globe, delivering COVID vaccines, but as well going into some projects that we're helping on the last mile and on tracking. Other than that, the organization I'm working with has a lot of experience related to small and medium-sized enterprises. And the reason why the UPS Foundation is in small and medium-sized enterprises is that this is our biggest customer group. So it's a business case. And in addition to that, it is as well, let's say, a humanitarian effort, because we know that small and medium-sized enterprises are the ones that are suffering most when it comes to the disaster. I have another hat on my head, which is being the co-chair of ARISE, the Global ARISE Board. ARISE, as you know, is a private sector alliance. We are trying to convene all the issues around small and medium-sized enterprise, around working with the finance industry, working as well with the insurance industry, and trying to drive as well decision-making processes around infrastructure. So with having said that, I hope that you have a little bit of a better understanding who is sitting here in front of you. Unfortunately, of course, virtually. I really regret that. It's always good seeing into each other's face and then discussing lively and having a chance afterwards. I hope that times are getting better and we have a chance another time, maybe next year, when some of us will meet in Bali, Indonesia, for the GP22, which is one of the major events that UNDRR is organizing for disaster risk reduction. Having said that, would like to dive into private sector networks for DRR, and I'm just trying to hand that directly over to my friend and colleague Fernando in Sao Paulo. Fernando, ARISE Brazil, big country, big challenges, so a lot of work to do, and a small network currently, at least. So what I would like to know from you, maybe you can share your experience of working with ARISE, and what the importance is, what you think in Brazil, and how to move forward in a country with more than 200 million inhabitants. Over to you, please.
Oh, thank you, Hans-Peter. As Hans-Peter said, we have a social responsibility initiative in our company that name is Making Smart Cities, that's focused on resilience and DRR. And we have been a member of the UNDRR RISE network since 2015. And we have been a member of UNDRR RISE network since 2015. In that network, we have a huge collaboration between the members and exchange of views, experience, and knowledge together with the analysis of use case in different contexts, provides valuable insights and the normal improvement of all spheres of expertise that is involved in the DRR and the resilience. And another thing, I think it's additional to promote an unique and personal and organizational enrichment. This collaborative work between the network members usually involve diverse perspectives on resilience and DRR, and make it possible to achieve significant advances in local, national, regional, and global levels. In a country like Brazil, we have a huge population and a huge territory with different perspectives when we talk about resilience and DRR. Most of the companies more focused on sustainability and climate change, but since our participation in ARISE, we have been, I think, a good job and bring the resilience and the DRR to the table. Today, understand that if you think about the UN coherence concept, we have DRR and resilience together with sustainability and climate change initiatives. And I think the results of the work with the ARISE is clear. We have, based on our company experience, we have participated in several global projects. We increased the scope and effectiveness of our work. including the incorporation of the UN concept of coherence in our initiative. I think we expand the impact of our initiative in more than maybe 10 times, and today we have a global presence. And to finish, we won the UN Sasakawa Award in 2019, which I truly believe that it would not be possible without this work with the RISE members. It's a very important and grateful work, and you can make the difference in the world in various ways. Thank you, Hans-Peter.
Fernando, thanks a lot. I would like to add one question here. And we know that you are part of the stakeholder engagement mechanism, right? Can you briefly explain what the stakeholder engagement mechanism means to you? I mean, there's a lot of diversity and inclusion discussion going on everywhere, for sure. And the SEM makes sure that those who are usually not heard are heard. And you are part of that, have been involved in the discussions in the past weeks, especially as SEM is preparing for some engagement in the next future. Can you please tell us a little bit what is the role of the private sector there?
Sure. First, the UN DRR stakeholder engagement mechanism. That's the SEM. It's composed of 26 different stakeholder groups. Not only makes possible to encourage the collaborative work among the members with different perspectives. We have a group of academia, indigenous people, media, and other groups that work together. And every company or organization can be part of the SEM. You need only to understand what the major group you are part of, and ask UNDRR for your involvement on that. That's a really important forum, because you have a lot of different experience, point of views, and when you bring together the private sector view with the other stakeholders view, we can have a great synergy in our actions, in our initiative, because when you talk about resilience in DRR, we must think about an all-of-society approach to bring inclusion in all of our initiatives related to DRR.
Fernando, I understand, and I think that there is a lot of experience with diversity and with inclusion within the audience, where especially when we have company representatives that are more and more getting into this topic. Your view in one sentence, because I would like to hand over to the next speaker. We are otherwise running out of time. Is there a business case going with stakeholder engagement, with having additional experiences, additional point of views?
Yeah, sure. We have a good use case as a document that we are working on about the COVID experience in the pandemics, how the companies and the organizations work in that period and in this period yet. And you have a good transformation in how to understand this of society approach to the companies and to the organizations.
Okay, so we better understand other societal groups that are as well potential customers, right? Potential clients, yeah, sure. Potential suppliers. So that's probably relevant. So I think that's what we need to spread out loud to make sure that people understand it has nothing to do with being inclusive and focusing on diversity, because it is a type of a humanitarian approach. It is as well something, it's a societal approach, and it can be a good business case. Thanks a lot, appreciate. Heading over to Pedro. Pedro, I have heard, and that is something that Fernando told me, so I learned from him, that you and your organization is now attempting to create a RISE Portugal. So this would be the first network in Europe, by the way. So we have a lot of networks that are based in vulnerable countries, so in those countries where there's a lot of need. So can you tell us a little bit about why and what has driven Energia de Portugal to consider an RISE network in Portugal? Is it a business model? What is the background? Can you help us a little bit in that regard? Please, Pedro.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Hans. Well, in fact, we have had for almost 7 years now a national platform for disaster risk reduction, and we have excellent collaboration within this forum. And so, because of that, we have been discussing network opportunities with the RISE. We have also, by the way, been observers in the European Forum for Disaster Risk Reduction. So we have some experience in participating in those forums, and we think it's actually it's very important to first to share, I mean, and to deepen our knowledge about the risks, and to strengthen also our internal competencies, not only in engineering but in disaster, mostly in risk assessment and awareness thereof. So due to our good experience, when Fernando approached us, if we might be interested in, let's say, stepping to the next level, we said, why not? So we are currently discussing with our partners in silver protection and also in the private sector, and it's in fact a possibility. It's a way to expand our this network that we already have.
Pedro, thanks. I mean, we are in a small group here right now, so we are amongst us.
Yes.
Can you share maybe the secret? Will we have an RISE network in 2022 in Portugal? It's 2021, sorry, or will we go into next year? What do you think?
In 2021, I doubt. In 2022, let's see. It really doesn't depend on us right now. It depends on the other partners. We have been networking with them, and we have some interested parties already. So I would not like to anticipate more than that, so that when the moment comes, it's like it's well, let's wait for the others to go ahead.
So I don't want to challenge you in that regard, Pedro. So no way doing that. So but of course it is interesting to see what is coming up in the future. And so we will look into Portugal then next year, and get our learning experience for new and additional networks that are probably coming up. I don't let you go before I'm asking one question. It's more going to same direction as I have asked Fernando. Having read in your bio that you have done a lot of change management, is it a change management for Energias de Portugal? If you are more diving into DRR, do you have to change things? I mean, there's a lot as well going on, especially a lot of pressure on the energy sector related to climate change. Can you share your experience in that regard?
Well, I would say that's the core of the thing right now. I mean, as you know, first of all, it's important to say that we have assets not only in Portugal, but we have relevant assets in Brazil as well, in Spain, throughout Europe, in US as well, and some operations in Asia as well. But of course, but our origin is in Portugal, and these forums we're talking about is mostly in Portugal. I would say that the recent evolution regarding social responsibility and so on, all the factors that are moving in favor of these. I would say it's a change management. It's like mentality and business orientation challenge that, of course, is and I think this component of disaster risk reduction is part of this overall change management challenge, I would say.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered, but
no, of course, please go ahead.
No. No, and I mean, to focus on what we are doing, I mean, it's impossible to decouple disaster risk reduction from the other challenges that are occurring in the markets, in society, and so on. So I would say if we have to do we have to approach those challenges in the right way, and this is what we are doing. At least we are doing the effort to do it properly. Yes.
Okay. So it is incorporated somehow. It's a task that is incorporated into all these climate change efforts that you need to undertake, right? So UNDRR is adding value in that regard. Is it fair enough to say that way? It's adding value.
It is adding. Absolutely. I mean, it's a very important part of what we are doing in terms of climate change scenarios, energy scenarios, and so on, of course. And it's, I mean, actually, when we then the thing actually goes to the details, because it's important that the business unions, they actually incorporate those scenarios in their plans, in their investment plans, and so on. And this is what we are promoting at the corporate level, that those scenarios and the disaster risk reduction is incorporated and embedded in the investment plans. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Pedro. I mean, we are trying to explore a little bit as well here. On one hand, and that's one of the things that I'm really looking for, is there a business case behind, right? Because that usually makes it a much stronger argument as well for engaging in DRR, and that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to make sure from UNDRR, from ARISE, that there is more engagement in disaster risk reduction, because I mean, I can only repeat that every dollar invested into DRR is balancing probably a damage that might occur at some stage, which is then $6 or $7. So that means, yeah, selling insurance is not always a nice thing, but at the end of the day, it's a type of insurance that helps us in not spending the $6 or $7. So therefore, I'm trying to find out, how can we get to more engagement? And one of the questions is, of course, as well, what is the bottleneck, or what are the bottlenecks for the private sector to invest more into resilience? And so last little question, Pedro, is there a bottleneck when you are moving into DRR as part of your overall engagement? Is it let's say, is it politics? Is it the clients at the end of the day? Is it the topic itself that needs better understanding amongst clients? What is it? What are the bottlenecks? Why can't we move faster? Can you explain? One sentence, please. Two maybe.
I don't know if I can explain, but I can give my perspective. I would say that in terms of business case, and you have to see it in an integrated way, because you cannot say that I'm investing in disaster risk reduction. I have to say that I'm investing in resilient assets, because I know that the probability of those investments paying off is growing, and especially when you talk about the longer term scenario. So I wouldn't say it's a matter of bottlenecks. It's a matter of adaptation, and that's what we have been doing.
So a matter of perspective as well, right? Changing perspectives to more long term from short term, right?
Exactly, and
Thanks
from business as usual to more long term thinking. Yes, you're
Thanks
welcome.
Appreciate. Moving to Turkey, Evren.
Hello.
So, well, I mean, we had a long way going together with some of the projects that IDEMA is undertaking in Turkey. So, so I would probably start with a very easy question on what is your experience as let's say as a social entrepreneur to a certain extent? May I say that this way, IDEMA? I mean, you're a consultant, on one end, a convener for some for competency building on one hand, but on the other side as well for driving those type of projects, like Saglam Kobi and others. What is your experience first of all with private sector networks? I mean, it is easy on one hand to do a project like you did with UPS and with others, right? But on the other side, networks, that's something else, right? So that has to do with scaling, so that there's not only a one-off, or let's say something that is with one company or with one organization. Scaling means somehow get additional actors on board. So what is your experience in that regard, please?
Thanks a lot, Hans-Peter. Actually, I do have, I don't know, I can answer this question twofold. First of all, of course, it's very crucial to integrate any kind of business organization, business networks in this aim of having a more resilient business community, if you like. The first part that we're experiencing, as you said, with the very priceless support of UPS for the last 8 years, and creating our own network around Saglam Kobi, starting with UPS, as you know, then Google, then S3, then Allianz, then some other organization. It makes it more, how can I say, it makes it more broad in terms of its capabilities. I'm not talking about the finance of conducting those projects, but whenever you are in a business network like this with the corporates, if you like, as a project implementer, social entrepreneur, you are benefiting from different types of expertise when you need. What we have done.
Sorry to interrupt, but we probably have to just say one thing, and that is that Saglam Kobi, as I mentioned, it hasn't been explained. Saglam Kobi is a project in Turkey that is related to the resilience of small and medium-sized enterprises.
Definitely. I thought that would be the second part topic. That's why I left it there. Yeah. So the first one is some very loose networks of the corporates, big corporates, supporting some social enterprises like us to have some field work and to have the connection in the field by the support of their expertise, and if it is needed, the finance. And the second part I will be talking a bit more, I guess, in the second session, is the already existing very big business networks that we are also in right now. In Turkey, we are very good partner with the National Union of Chambers. And are you going to say something, Hans-Peter? Sorry.
Oh, you were just frozen. So go ahead, please.
Okay. So we're working very closely with the National Roof Organization of the Union of Commodity Exchange and Chambers in Turkey. That's really important for us to reach more than 1.3 million SMEs in Turkey in terms of our newsletters, our trainings, our webinars, our roadshows, and others. And right now I am in I'm on the field, actually. This is because we are working with some local chambers as well. I'm now in a very close city, close industrial city to Istanbul. We are working very close with the Chamber of Industry here to create a center of excellence within the chamber to be able to go to the businesses sector by sector and apply our online tools which were created in Sağlam Kobi to make them more resilient when it comes to disaster in the very first place. Our understanding and what we are quote unquote using the benefits of the business networks as Sağlam Kobi is not only on disaster resilience, but we do have using their opportunities to promote a more bigger resilience understanding, which is a holistic one. So we're calling it resilience, as you have to know, in Sağlam Kobi. So starting with disaster resilience and then goes to digital resilience and then economic resilience and social resilience. So we're working with the business networks, not only the big corporates who are supporting us like UPS for ages, but also the legal business organizations, associations who are representing the members as the businesses.
Evan, we will probably go deeper into that when we are talking about SMEs. But the question I would have right now, as we wanted a little bit to talk as well about the value of networks. There is no Arise network in Turkey right now.
Yeah.
What would be the challenge? And again, this is a 2 or 3 sentences question. Okay. What are the challenges related to founding something like Arise? Is it more attractive to work with existing organizations like the chamber organization, or like with other organizations that have an existing network? What is the challenge here?
Actually, the opportunity is bigger than the challenge. I should start with that. But the challenge is that we do have very well established institutions like TOB, or the CBI we do have with UNDP here in Turkey. So since our industry is very wide and very professionalized, if you like, we have to have a unique way and more innovative way to put everyone in the same pot and define. I think the major the challenge is to define priorities within those networks. Especially when it comes to disaster resilience, there are tons of different priorities in different industrial parts of Turkey. So we have to have that kind of strategic understanding right in the very beginning of the Arise network with the participation of all the units. The second challenge is, as you very well know, like me, both the state institutions and local governments and also the business organizations have already doing a lot of stuff to be able to be more resilient against disasters. So the second challenge is to collect the already existing efforts to make it a bit further level, if you like.
Okay, understand. Very good answer. I keep up on that one. We will talk about that later. And I would like to go into the second part here right now, before we are running out of time. And what we are having here is a discussion around building the resilience of small and medium-sized enterprises. And we have here, again, Mr. Evan Edogan, but in addition to that, 2 new panelists with Mrs. Katarina Jovanovic, the Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Economy in Serbia. And Minister Jovanovic has made a study on small and medium-sized enterprises recently. And so I hope that we are able to answer a number of those questions related to small and medium-sized enterprises and how to support them in the best possible manner, build resilience and identify potentially key tools. In addition to that, we have Mr. Sergio Gatti, the General Manager of Federcasse, sorry, Sergio. and Federcasso is an organization that is dealing with the banking system of credit cooperations, and I'm sure that Sergio, you will be able to explain a little bit what Federcasso is doing in a proper manner rather than in a shortened way that as I did it. And I hope that you are able as well to tell us a little bit on the financial sector and what the opportunities are related to small and medium-sized enterprises, because of course usually every entrepreneur needs a bank. That's what I'm thinking. So they are not hiding the money in the bed. So therefore they need to work somehow with you. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Katarina Jovanovic, the Assistant Minister of Economy. Please, Katarina, would you be able to share a little bit of the study and the outcome of the study, and then especially on the takeaways, so that we have our own takeaways, what we can learn from you.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm not an expert in this DRR topic. I see it's more a gentleman's topic since I'm the only lady in the panel. I'm just joking.
We have to work on that. We have to work on that. I agree. I'm sorry.
I would just like to say that the study that you mentioned is in fact the study which was performed by the Chamber of Commerce, USAID and UNDRR in Serbia, and it was done during the COVID pandemic situation. Starting with SMEs, it's usually said that they're backbone of each economy because they're contributing very much to brutto value added to employment, and what is even more important, they're operating all around the country, and although in those smaller communities where larger companies do not exist. And that's why they deserve a special attention, especially having in mind then when disaster strikes, SMEs are usually hits harder, suffer longer, and are slower to recover than larger businesses, as it is said in the study that you mentioned. So having that in mind, it is important to understand first, are SMEs investing enough in building resilience, and what we can do to motivate them and to help them. So again, based on the study, it is obvious that there is quite a lot of room for improvement. And key reasons why SMEs do not invest so much in resilience is first, they say they lack capacity and resources. So 51% said that is the reason. Then lack of incentives, 16%, and lack of awareness of risks and potential impact on business, and that is 33%. So maybe if we look on what we should do first, we should in fact start with from this second reason, and that is lack of awareness, and try to change this overly optimistic outlook of majority of SMEs that I can't be that unlucky, it won't happen to me. And that is the predominant still approach when we come to the topic of disaster with many SMEs. And then when we have that, it is important to provide support to SMEs to identify risks and to evaluate what are the most important risks for them, that specific enterprise. Because of course it is not realistic that we can insure from everything, but it is very important to understand what are those risks that are most important for the enterprise in question, and to get support to also have insurance and take other measures and prepare plans to react in the case of a disaster. And in that sense, it's also a very important role of insurance companies and business associations together with local governments to help that this really happens in future. and to help SMEs to see investing in insurance and prevention measures as something which is a regular part of their business, not something that they need to do from time to time, or but something that should be part of their regular business. It is also very important to build good relations and trust among different stakeholders, because SMEs and SME owners are often not so much educated in this specific topic, and sometimes that they can make decisions which, if turns wrong, can have even create even more negative approach to this issue. I will just name one example. For example, Serbia is famous for raspberry production, and 20 years ago, nobody is taking insurance when growing raspberries, and then insurance companies started to offer different ways, different policies. But what happened is that farmers opted for the cheapest one, and they didn't realize that the most probable risk, and which is hail in Serbia, is not covered under that specific insurance. And what happened is that when the risk realized and hail hit their property, they were not able to recover a loss, and they lost confidence in insurance. So then it took years afterwards that confidence was built again, especially in some specific parts of Serbia. That's why we need to work all together, and starting from creating awareness, helping SMEs to identify risks that are relevant for the enterprising fashions, and then to prepare realistic plans and take insurance. Thank you.
Katarina, thanks a lot for the insight. And I think I fully understand. One of the arguments, which is a lack of resources within SMEs to work on DRR. That's something that's probably critical. I mean, the smaller the organization is, then the more critical it's probably getting, but the more vulnerable they are as well. But on the other side, I really like what you said, what the direction of the Serbian government is, like focusing on awareness building. I'm a big fan of the so-called Pareto principle, which is in other words as well known as the 80-20 principles, where you can, with 20%, you can probably reach 80% of your goals, right? And then you can spend a lot of time in order to reach the remaining goals and tasks that you have to do. So focusing on that Pareto principle often helps as well to solve the most relevant risks that are there. So I hope that ARISE is able to support. Is there any organization in Serbia of the private sector who is supporting your efforts related to SMEs other than the insurance sector?
We are working very closely also with the Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to say that business associations have really a very strong role, especially because membership of the Chamber of Commerce in Serbia is mandatory. So there's an opportunity to do quite a lot, both on awareness raising and also on creating some specific products, working with insurance companies for specific groups of members of chambers, which would lower lower costs on one side, and on the other side, which might be better targeted to the specific needs of specific groups of SMEs.
Thanks a lot, Katarina. Appreciate. And what I would like to just mention is that there is such a thing called Prevention Web. That it has been set up and is driven by UNDRR, which is offering a variety of tools and opportunities for trainings, for awareness building, There is as well something that we call resilience in the box that we are using around the globe. So that's a free of charge type of a generic training for small and medium-sized enterprises that the UPS Foundation has developed over the years, and it's together with the Chamber of Commerce, the US Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Just to mention, it's resilience in the box and prevention web are tools that are available. So we probably don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's one thing. And the other thing is, in case there's anything we can do, Katarina, to support from a UNDRR and a RISE perspective, there's a lot of interest, of course, if there is already a direction that the industry has taken in the country to approach probably and make sure that they understand that maybe founding on a RISE chapter and working in a let's say collaborative manner on Sendai principle might make sense and help as well your efforts around small and medium-sized enterprises, which are the efforts and the, let's say, goals as well, most likely of all the industry members in Serbia, because those are the suppliers and those are the buyers, right? Thanks a lot, Katarina. I would get over to Sergio, where the money is. Sergio, please. There's a lot Federcassi is doing at national level, I think, to increase the awareness. Can you share a little bit what Federcassi is doing? And first of all, please explain properly what Federcassi is.
Yes, many thanks, Hans-Peter. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to try to explain what is Federcassi. Federcassi is the Italian federation. It means Federazione Casse, the Italian federation of the 2040 mutual banks with 4,400 branches all over the country. They are a sort of community banks in USA with mutualistic obligations. Today I'm in Sicily, where in the last 20 days we had a lot of floods and tropical, I would say tropical drains. So the reduction risk activity is now quite actual here in this region. At national level, we have 1.4 members and 6.5 million clients and almost 30,000 employees, all the 2040 mutual banks all over Italy. And what's happened that in 2019, we have proactively answered to a call for collaboration by the European United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Office, based in Geneva, that kindly today invited us to share with you and participants our experience. The UNDRR target was to build a sort of baseline understanding of where small and medium businesses are in terms of recognizing and managing risks, investing in resilience and recovering from disasters caused by natural hazards, extreme weather events and cascading impacts and so on. SME's resilience is of massive importance for our country and in particular for our network of cooperative banks. We are local banks. Through our network, 2 years ago, we have circulated a questionnaire to our SMEs members and clients, covering the whole country from the health to Sicily, and reaching different sectors and economic activities exposed to the several extreme weather events that afflicted Italy in the recent years and also in the last weeks. It's too long list to be quoted entirely. Floods, earthquakes, drought were all identified as main challenges to build resilience for SMEs, also in the questionnaire. I try now to share just two slides with you. Yes, should be working. Yes. Almost what was the result? Quite shortly, it was the result of the questionnaire. Almost 70% of the total amount of SMEs interviewed declared to be unaware of the risks they are facing and consequently are not investing, are not preparing themselves in resilience at all. Amongst the other obstacles identified on the public sector, Two are quite important. The first one is the lengthy bureaucratic procedures, and maybe also the public sector in some way is not so prepared in prevention. We are very clever in Italy in the emergency situation, not so clever in preventing disasters, but we are going on. The second point is the lack of a regulatory framework that were identified as unsolved issues on which start considering to adapt local national measures. We need also a prudential, a banking legal framework that must become more sensitive on this field. On the other side, from a private perspective, we observed other difficulties, lack of financial resources, and of course, we are ready to invest in this sector, and lack of support from buyers. The four issues combined together demonstrate the impossibility for SMEs to recover after a natural disaster occurs. Impossibility was quite a difficulty to do it. As cooperative banks, we believe that the global challenge of climate change could be won, first of all, at local level, protecting communities and territories, and above all, those actors and institutions that could support small and medium-sized enterprises and their businesses. For each of the four problematics highlighted that I proposed you, we try to start reflecting on four main pillars that could help to raise awareness and increase resilience. And I try now to send a second and the last one, of course, slide. Okay, I hope it's possible to see. Yes, 4 point, first, strengthen engagement of our sector, banking sector and local governments. Banking sector operating in disadvantaged areas, in internal areas, like the one when I am exactly now in the middle of Sicily, should be treated in a different way under the prudential framework. Less capital requirements, this is really the focus point, less capital requirements and more availability of credit, of loans for the real economy to support businesses and avoid real job losses. Preparing to avoid this. Second point, build a new genre of a business continuity plan in order to target the transition with a step-by-step approach and make the process less burdensome and more achievable. Third, strengthen the utility sector and understand dependencies. There are a lot of connections as small and medium enterprises are always engaged in broader value chain. So we had to assist and to put in safe the value chain also at local level. Fourth and last, build capacity and provide applicable guidance. Share best practices at local and national level, find similarities and possible successful examples, and try to build common guidance based on the experience. Federcasse, our federation, is collaborating with the UNDRR exactly for that, to achieve this very demanding but essential target at national level. Now I'll stop share.
Very much, thank you, Sergio. One brief question: is Federcasse member of ICMIF as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So thanks a lot. I'm just mentioning that or asking you because of the fact that ICMIF and UNDRR are discussing a cooperation. And we are, let's say, in the beginnings of that one, thus meaning that some of the very good examples you shared might be something that other RISE networks might have access to as well as best practices. And I would like to go, knowing that we have 5 minutes left for this part, I would go now to Evan and keep a few questions in the back right now for the Q&A session in case there's nothing coming from the audience. And I can only ask the audience, please use the, what is it? Sorry, Evan, you shared the screen, so therefore I cannot see mine here.
Oh, sorry.
No worries,
Sorry.
no worries.
I was trying to...
Just keep it. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. I just need to make sure that I have this private sector. Okay, so we have two questions here. So just want to, there is a possibility to ask questions through Hop-in. So please be so kind, in case there are any questions, now is your chance. You have another couple of minutes to go before we are closing the session and getting over to the Q&A. So Evan, the floor is yours. Saglam Kobe, as you have lined up here, and you only have 4 or 5 minutes to go. So
okay.
I'm sorry for that, but give us an executive summary. We are sitting here with executives. So therefore, I would ask you to give us a bit of an insight in a practical solution on what small and medium-sized enterprises might expect from a platform, and the example is Turkey. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Hans-Peter. Sorry, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'll be very brief because I'll just show just 1 or 2 slides because like the right and honorable lady and the gentleman already told the deadlocks that we're having all around the world actually. So like the lady from Serbia just said, it won't happen to me. The people are saying that it won't happen to me. We are witnessing the same here in Turkey. We talked about the sources, like lacking sources that we had. Like I would like to say that when we are starting this journey with the UPS Foundation, we had the same problems, if you like, in Turkey. So we started in 2013 as Sağlam KOBİ to be able to reach out as much as SMEs and as much as training of trainers that we could give them the capacity to use the tools of the resilience in a box to make them more resilient. So, and then it goes on for some couple of years. When we were in 2018, we just we had a publication through a research on disaster resilience research for businesses in Turkey, and we learned a lot from that. To 4,000 SMEs from 5 regions of Turkey, we had a chance to map where are we lacking and what kind of new strategy that we should have. And then we created a new vision, which is Sağlam KOBİ 2.0. We prioritize sustainable solutions, including digitalization, online tools, new technologies, and new partners from different sectors, like S3 from the mapping sector, Allianz from the insurance sector, and then Google, and then YBI, and then the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchange of Turkey. So like we had, we kind of created a new understanding, if you like, in resiliency through Sağlam KOBİ, which we call kind of a holistic approach to business resilience. So what we have done, what we are still trying to achieve here, is to have that 4-fold resilience understanding through Sağlam KOBİ. For disaster resilience, we've done a lot with the not only with the trainings and webinars and center of excellences that we are putting on 20 different cities of Turkey, but we are creating a Sağlam KOBİ map, which is kind of a business continuity platform for Turkey, in which all the almost 1 million SMEs will be registered in that map, and we could follow with the Union of the Chamber of Commerce and us as Sağlam KOBİ team, as Sağlam KOBİ platform, to chase the sector-wise and the regional-wise what kind of improvements we are creating, especially taking the emergency action plans and the scores of the tests that we are doing through our digital platform, and to understand what kind of needs new needs the SMEs have in terms of being resilient. And we are now working very hard on to add some financial incentives to our platform to make it more reachable, to make it more quote unquote fancy for the SMEs who are not that much aware of the risks that they're taking by not investing their resilience in terms of disaster. So it comes with digital resilience at the same place. We had a new website, a sub website during the COVID, which covers digital marketing, e-marketing, e-export, e-import, and any kind of tools that they can use against some cyberbullying and some other online help services and others. What we're trying to add is to support their economic resilience by providing them some services which are already available or created by ourselves to boost their economic activity through using digital tools that we're offering. And the fourth one is on the way, as kind of a sub understanding of our project. It's the social resilience. We are trying to put a new component just to empower the less empowered business owners within the society. So I know I think I'm now in the 4 or 5 minutes. Hans-Peter, that's overall what we are doing in Sağlam Kobe. It's getting bigger and global. I would like to say all my friends that we are very eager to be supportive in every part of the world. We started with, Hans-Peter, Sri Lanka. We started with Bosnia somehow, and we want to be more global. We want to make more impact to add what we're doing in Turkey. Thank you.
Evan, thanks a lot. I would give you as well the opportunity for a 2-sentence answer on a question. We heard a lot about incentives, even though incentives is probably something that doesn't sound really good to me for an entrepreneur, because for an entrepreneur, the incentive of doing DRR is probably to survive and having less impact on the business and surviving better. So that's probably the wrong answer from an entrepreneur. It's probably not a real proper understanding of entrepreneurship.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Which one is the wrong answer? Sorry.
I said incentives. Incentive has been mentioned. A lack of incentives has been mentioned in the studies that came up. So incentives, and then the other thing was localization and and awareness. So with having a platform, you are probably able to raise awareness in a better manner. And I don't want to dive into that, but incentives. Can you briefly, 2 sentences, what is the role of incentives in the concept you're using?
It is very crucial to transform their business. The incentive that they can get, for example, some sort of insurance incentive that they're getting makes them more knowledgeable, makes them more eager to enter this, enter this phase of being disaster resilient. So the incentive can be something that we are working on, some in-kind donation by some insurance company, as you know, that we are creating. So incentives mainly have two important roles. It helps us to raise awareness, nationally and globally in our project, and the second one makes them there are institutions who are taking the financial burden out of our shoulders and helping us to be resilient when we are on the way to be more resilient. That's what we are experiencing in Turkey.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate. With that, I would like to get over to the Q&A from the floor. For the time being, I have 2 questions here in the block, and in case there are more, I would like to ask Rebecca from the technical support to help me in case there are more. The first question that I'm having here is if SMEs want to build resilience, whom they should talk to. So yeah, well, that's probably, I would like to ask Katerina and Sergio maybe. Whom can they ask? Can they ask the banks? Can they ask the government? What would be your take in that regard?
Katerina first, please.
Thank you very much. It is really a difficult question. Of course, if they already know what they want to do and how they want to do, then they can go directly, for example, to insurance house and discuss deeper possibilities in there. But if they want to really get help on how to first assess risks that concerns their business and make a proper plan for future, I truly believe that business associations, at least in Serbia, should be the first place to address and to get support. Indeed, there are a lot of rooms for improvement. For the time being, we do not have a lot of information so far available online and possible to easy direct SMEs to proper institutions. But another important approach is, as always, that we should have principle of no wrong doors. So whenever they go first, they should be able to be then sent to the right organization which can help in specific situation.
Thanks a lot, Katerina. So there is an open door policy. That's what I read. Sergio.
Can I just one sentence, Hans-Peter, about that?
Please. More than you like. More than you like.
I believe the steps should be at least three. The first one is assume a strategic decision in the board of the small or medium size. This is a strategic with organizational effects, of course. Second, culture. I agree with the first contribution of Katerina, a focus of Katerina on culture, on education, on training. And third, of course, investing. And so you can go to a bank, possibly a mutualistic bank in Italy.
Okay, thanks a lot. So three steps where to go. Now, Fernando, I would like to ask you, on the other side of the pond, you have an answer for us as the vice chair of Arise, correct?
Yeah.
Where to go as an SME?
That's an interesting question. I think when we think about the SMEs, most of SMEs thought that you need a lot of money to work on resilience in DRR, and that's not the reality. If you have a good knowledge and will to do this, you can have a good exchange of knowledge to implement resilience in DRR in practice. That could help the small business survive to the fluctuations of the markets.
Great. Fernando, thanks a lot. And in order to make it short on this question, there is one universal answer on that. So, and the answer is Prevention Web, UNDRR. So there is a site UNDRR has, and there are tools available. So if a small and medium-sized enterprise really wants to know more about resilience, there is a lot on the UNDRR site. It's just a little bit of surfing, and you find it easy. And I'm sure that that Nick Ramos from UNDRR will be able to provide a link that helps anyone who is asking in order to get access to the tools that they need. Awareness tips. There's a lot available. I just checked that a few days ago. There's a lot available. Links and as well material in that regard. So thanks a lot for that one. Second question I'm having here, let me just get back into that one. Oh, I got a third one here. Now the second one is, how can the banking sector support SMEs in resilience building? And how can DRR be better integrated into lending schemes? That's a very interesting one. I would guess, Sergio, wouldn't it? Should I repeat?
No, it's okay. It's quite clear. I believe, at least this is our experience, and in our experience, first listen the communities, the entrepreneurs, above all in the communities that were affected by disasters, and We have, unfortunately, we have many cases in Italy. Second, to build special program of investing, long-term investing, that should be incentivized by public authorities at fiscal level for SMEs and at prudential banking regulation level for the banks, because it's a quite different kind of investment. Is not a normal ordinary investment. It is a very long term, and it is important not only for the single enterprise, but also for the community, for the households, for the workers, for the value chain, and so on. In this sense, we can accompany the enterprises in the 3 steps: decide, invest, and monitoring the capacity building of their new awareness and new capacity of make connections with other colleagues, with other SMEs, enterprises, and in connection with the local public authorities. So we are just an infrastructure as banks, as local and cooperative banks, in order to connect the intentions and the achievements.
If I may ask a little bit, probably very directly, incorporating that into Basel III or getting rid of Basel III in that regard?
Yes, we are not happy for Basel III and Basel III Plus or 4, as you want to call it. Above all, in Europe, there is an historical mistake because our authorities decided, unfortunately, to adopt the approach one size fits all, the same rules for all different kinds of banks, small, medium, and systemic, and we are suffering. And in other countries, in the USA, I believe also in the next future, also in Great Britain, but also in Switzerland, in New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, there is no one-size-fits-all approach, but tiered or tailored approach. In this sense, we hope that UNDRR will help us in Europe.
Well, I hope as well. Sergius, thanks a lot for the clear words. We hear you, and I hope that there are some others in the audience that are hearing that message as well. Let me go to the third question here. Do big companies in Serbia support SMEs in their value chain in resilience building? It's clear, this is Katarina for you. Are there big companies that are looking into the value chain in supporting DRR? Are you aware of that?
As I said, I'm not an expert in DRR, so it is good that you have more and more companies which are willing to cooperate on this issue. And from the side of the Ministry of Economy, our main role in the previous period was in fact to react when it was the case of some disruptive events, such were large floods that we had, or COVID crisis that we had, which we still have, and also having in mind the challenges that we are facing now with electricity prices and gas prices. But nevertheless, we are working very closely with the Chamber of Commerce in respect to more strategic approach to DRR, and we will be very happy to cooperate with all companies that are willing to do so.
Thanks a lot. So again, open doors in Serbia, and I can only hope that companies are listening and approaching you immediately, saying, yes, we would like to have a safe and secured value chain. Just want to remark on that one. The thing here is that we need to be sober as well about UNDRR and the role bigger companies can play. I had a discussion with Vietnamese entrepreneurs a while ago on UNDRR and asked them the same question. So what is the role of your suppliers in that regard? You have SMEs and MSMEs in your supply chain, and the answer was, yeah, well, you know what? If we can have the products that they are producing anymore because they are suffering from a disaster, whatever it is. Within a day, we can go and get the same things from Thailand. Sorry to say that, but this is simply what I'm hearing. So we have to be, I think, very clear that there needs to be a mix of incentives as well, awareness building as well, that nobody might help because there are alternatives for bigger companies in their supply chain. We need to discuss as well with the companies. So Arise is probably the best possible platform for that, to make sure that when the companies can share experiences and make sure that there is a common set of values and goals to support suppliers in their value chain and in their supply chain, rather than giving up and just taking another one from somewhere else. So that's something that has to do with business ethics, less with business. So I can only hope that some people are listening to that and rethink strategies that they might have in mind. We are on 15.16, so that means we are 1 minute over. So if you allow me 1 minute to close for some closing remarks, I hope it was an interesting session for you and especially for the audience, as we are customer oriented. I'm hoping that we have added a little bit of value to with the experience that we have shared. I learned a lot here in the discussion, especially on the value of networks, and then of course that inclusion can be a business opportunity as well as DRR can be a business chance and an opportunity to reach probably other customer groups. We heard as well that there are a number of good let's say approaches within Europe related to small and medium-sized enterprises with open door policies and concrete measures that governments are taking, as Katarina for Serbia explained. We heard the chambers of commerce are engaged a lot. We heard as well that using those bigger platforms as an entry point might offer the opportunity to create bigger networks and even achieve more in DRR. And we know as well, and we heard as well, that incentives have to be taken seriously, and awareness building is maybe one of the ways to go. And we heard as well some good practices from Evan in Turkey, as we have made our experience over the past 6-7 years, especially on SMEs. With having said that, I would like to thank all of you to participate, to spend the time on this panel. And I think as well the audience, even though I can't see anybody, I'm sorry for that, would love to be sitting in a room with all you guys, but it doesn't work. Hope to see you back at a later stage. And thanks a lot. Have a great day and have a great weekend for this week. Thank you.